strong run from 1770s to about 1975.
Sure.
And if we continue down the road we are going to virtually destroy the country.
Yeah, I see that patriotism fraying at the edges right now. I mean, I looked at the piece of the Prime Minister in Canada where he recently took to the news and volunteered that he spoke to President Clinton and said, when are you going to release this information? And now this is the Prime Minister or the Minister of Defense for Canada coming back and saying, Bill Clinton said, there are two governments, one inside the other, and I don't run it.
This is I'm familiar with this story. This is a clouded story. But essentially, Paul Hellyer was referring to a story conveyed to him through Stephen Greer, and that story was conveyed to Greer from Sarah McClendon. And it goes back to the Rockefeller Initiative of 93 to 96, when Clinton was seriously entertaining ending the truth embargo, but was blocked at every turn. And in fact, not just blocked, he was savaged. I mean, they brought the wrath of God down. So again, part of an extremely complex history that we could spend weeks discussing. But let's bring your audience into the moment now. Here's where we are in 2010. First, for the last 10 years, going back to 2000, one country after another has been breaking ranks with the UFO truth embargo policy. They haven't ended the truth embargo, but they have clearly taken actions which show publicly that they are less inclined with each year to go along with it. I'm sure they are saying things in the background, on their back channels, but the U.S. can just ignore that. By taking public actions, they are also putting pressure on the U.S. And, of course, I refer to the Cometa report issued out of France in 1999, and, of course, all of the files that started getting released in 2004 and forward by France, UK, Australia, Canada, Uruguay, Denmark, Sweden, yada, 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 and, of course, major developments in Brazil. These countries are breaking ranks. That's the first thing. Secondly, the number of witnesses that keep coming forward is continuing. And so every year they have a few more people who have worked and done good and work for the government who are coming forward and saying, look, I know this thing is real. I know the ETs are real. I did this. I saw this. This is making it tougher. Thirdly, the accumulation of bad governance worldwide going back 100 years, which didn't end with the end of World War II, I can assure you. Failure to address just about every major issue on the planet, from population, to disease, to the poor nations, the overall human condition, to pollution of the oceans, pollution of the atmosphere, warming issues, which may very well be by the sun, doesn't matter. If you're underwater, and on and on and on. Not to mention the rise of terrorism, which is a fundamental outgrowth of the disparity between the rich and the poor in the world. The poor are not simply going to go lie down and die. They're going to put up a hell of a fight, and they're going to cause all kinds of havoc. And so we have let everything go to the point where we're now facing a whole plethora of tipping points, and we're up against the wall.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I understand the pressures of the masses and the poor and the hungry and the disenfranchised. But those aren't the individuals that are going to take to the air with sophisticated aircraft and make left-hand turns at 10,000 miles an hour, mocking our most advanced, methods of flying. Somebody is flying craft up there by the tens of thousands every single month, and they're flying circles around anything that we've got. And they're not from around here, and if they are, that's even more profound.
Not clear that they're a threat, and the government has actually said that on several occasions. The danger is us, Brooks. Right now, the biggest thing you need to worry about is not ETs, it's human beings.
Sure.
Human beings are about to take this world apart and turn it into a cosmic waste dump. So I don't know what the ET's intentions are, but I know that this gathering storm of political and governing failure has put the human races back against the wall. And so this is another thing putting enormous pressure on the truth embargo. We cannot go forward unless we start first renewing trust in government, which means the governments of the world got to get in the truth business. Lying as an institutional process isn't going to work anymore, particularly with the Internet. They get caught all the time now. I mean, they'll issue a lie at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, and by noon, it's all been completely found out, and they're making their apologies by 1 p.m. It doesn't work anymore, and the people are fed up with it. Secondly, we have to know. I mean, given what we face, knowing that we're not alone in the universe may be rather profoundly helpful to 6 billion people trying to, quote, find their way, trying to assess what they want to do next, blow myself up, go to war, pollute the Pacific, whatever. I think it's important they know the truth of the world that they're in, right? Like
Sure.
a guy should know whether he's dying of cancer or not, so he knows how to spend his last days, or how to go and cure it, you see. If you're not told by your doctor you have cancer, you can't go get treatment for it. And so this is a pretty important issue. And then thirdly, it's obvious from a considerable amount of evidence that whether or not we are in any kind of what we'll call formal arrangements with extraterrestrials, we have got extraterrestrial technology. The evidence for that, I think, is now overwhelming and compelling. We've had ET technology for a very long time. It is sequestered within the national security structure. It has been under development for decades. It is not available for you. It's not available for me. It's not available for the poor. It is available for weaponization, national security.
Well, that's what I see. Is that most of this technology, if it's being reverse engineered, it's propulsion technology, it's energy technology, it's communication technology, but it's driven by defense dollars. It's not driven by energy. It's not driven by food or survival or disease control or population control. It's driven by weaponization.
It's driven by national security agendas which need to be reassessed. It's part of a vast secret empire that needs to be reformed. We are dealing with huge structural momentum here. When you build something as big as a secret empire, it's basically like having a 1 billion-ton aircraft carrier. Try turning that thing right on a dime. And so, we built it. Now we've got to, quote, restructure it, right? Or we're going to sail right off the edge of the world. So it's a pretty dire situation in some respects, and yet it's filled with enormous promise because disclosure immediately informs the world that there are multiple civilizations throughout the galaxy. 2, it informs the world that we have extraordinary technology which could be brought to bear very quickly and possibly alter the social, political, human condition equations that we're facing and actually make us feel like we can solve some of them. 3, it means we may be able to go to the stars very soon, right? 4, we might be there in a position to have open contact with ETs, which theoretically, unless the ETs definitely mean us harm, may expose us to more additional and profound new technologies. Now, this is actually one of the interesting themes in the television show V. Now, of course, the whole thing has been molded into a us versus them, diabolical, hidden reptilian thing because that's what sells and gets ratings. But the concept is there.
Well, let me put this by you. All of the things that you brought up have economic value. Things like clean energy, which would definitely head off things like what we've got going on in the Gulf right now. Air pollution, clean water, interstellar travel, interplanetary population. It seems like all of these pathways contain within them an unlimited future and profit, but weapons have no profit to them. The only thing they do is kill people and break things, and nobody pays for that.
I understand the dichotomy there, but it's not. It's more complex than that.
Well, it sounds to me like the mouse has got a firm grip on the camel's toe rope.
People right now in government want this over. They want this truth embargo to end, and they do see the great promise that this transition would rapidly bring for the world, and they want it to end. But there are also those in there who still adhere to a very strong national security posture. They are still worried about the Chinese nuclear weapons, and I imagine there are definitely people inside government making relatively cogent and strong cases for why we simply cannot assume, over, say, a reasonable period of time, not super long term, but near term, that the ETs or a new ET species could arrive that would be a threat. And so...
well, that sounds like all the more reason why we should learn to live as earthlings instead of nations poised against one another.
Nationalism is going to go away anytime soon.